Someone asked a question, what is the power of Devastation after the buffs? It's a great question. So I think Devastation after the buffs is actually looking really strong. Really, really, really strong. I think guilds should consider bringing Devastation. Seriously, it's really good on its own, but it's actually so much better than you think it is. T-Swift, right? This boss that turns into like all the different druid forms. When you see how much damage Devastation does on this boss, you're going to think it needs to be nerfed. That'll be for later, so you have to stick around for that. This boss is a first boss, so it's not going to be too complicated. The fight has 2 stages. You could even call it a 1-stage fight with an intermission if you wanted. So the mythic mechanic on this boss is you have these big swirlies that spawn too. You'll notice these big ones, right? So normally how this works is you get these circles you have to take out of the raid, and you want to actually use them to grow these plants. All of them will pop in the intermission, and they do a ton of damage. So you can see here, controlled burn. These are the very large circles that you have to move out. And the plan should be you want to hit this ad with one, and then you want the other people to like hit as many of these little ads as you can. We'll show the intermission too. Here we have all of the ads up at the same time. As you can see, we didn't even really break any of them out in phase 1. So they're just like all there in the intermission. And then right here, once the boss reaches the middle of the room, it's at about 140 into the fight, as you can see. Obviously that time depends on like how far the boss has to walk. The boss moves to the middle and begins this cast. You're going to notice these roots coming out. Watch this. The way this works, it's very interesting actually. This is like a very unique mechanic. So each one of these segments is like its own unit. So like right here where my mouse is, this is one of them. 7, 8, 9. There's 9 on this arm. See that? These arms on the side are actually smaller than the arms on this side and this side. You need to just burn all these. The way that you burn them is you soak these little circles. These, by the way, if you don't soak these, it's not a wipe. It just does some raid damage, but it's definitely worth soaking them. So you soak it, you're going to get a debuff, okay? And it stacks. So I have 5 stacks right now. So that means I can burn 5 segments. You could probably be coordinated and do this in like 2 goes, but I think at a very bare minimum, you're probably going to be doing 30 seconds of this. It would be really, really hard to beat that. This whole side is done, as you can see, so we can just like run straight over. As soon as you finish the intermission, boss takes 100% damage. So we want to blast this boss as quickly as possible. So we breath it, we lust, and we're going to have it pop a couple more times from the other breaths. And the boss is about to be done taking damage. Hear this. So that's 50%, as you can see. We're back in stage 1 again. The fight is cyclical. So as soon as you get done with the intermission, as soon as you have the boss do its little stun and take more damage and then get done with that, you go again. So this is just phase 1 again. Tinking this boss on the side of the room is actually a good idea for a lot of reasons, but the main thing is actually it makes phase 1 easier. This is all of the ads spawning in one quadrant. See that? They're all spawning right there. So since it's on the corner, in fact, if we were to put the boss like even closer to the wall, I think we might be able to stack both of these like in melee, but this is probably fine. All the ads are stacked. Now this is really nice because it means that you can just break out all the ads with like 1 circle. 1 circle right here is going to get like insane value. So watch this. Automatic pops, right? Because this is in the fire. Look at this. Automatic pops. Boom, 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 boom. See how it's like segmented? That's great. You love to see that. So we're just doing a little AoE here, right? Popping those ads. Devastation, by the way, fantastic for these ads. Absolutely beautiful. Chef's kiss. But obviously augmentation is great for the damage amp. Okay, so again, the boss moves to the middle of the room. So boss being on the edge means you have more time because he has to walk further. So we love that. So I'm just immediately trying to rush. I Zephyred even to try and get some movement speed. I'm just trying to burn as many as I can. Okay, we're already done. Look, left side, goated, already done. I think the way you want to do it is you probably have half the raid do one side, half the raid do the other side. This left side would have like the big part and the little part, and then us, we would have the big part and then this little part. So next boss is Igira the Cruel. Okay, so I will disconnect in this, so don't look at the damage meters too much because I'm like DCing. But anyways, so the fight begins. I am using my trinket on the boss. This is a really nice single target trinket you can get for Devastation. You basically do like a ton of damage with this thing, and then it's going to give you a ton of mastery stacks. It's a nice little trinket. We had that third one come in at the last second. But anyways, so these chains, you need to break these chains, right? I am going to just kind of like cleave off the boss here. But what's nice is the chains actually don't do too much damage to you. So as long as you break them before anything really bad happens, it's not too bad. And you do cleave to them as long as they're close enough. This one's a little too far. Basically, you want them to be as close as possible, but you don't want to overlap them. You'll notice that we have raid markers on these. There's 3 different options here. You actually get to choose your own adventure here. So there's 3 different torments. We've got Hacking Torment, Slicing Torment, and Flaying Torment. Each one of these does something different. The most important one to note is the Flaying Torment. This one makes it so that you have a Healing Absorb. Whenever you get this Healing Absorb taken off of you, you explode, and then you're also going to let out orbs in every direction. Those hurt. It's whatever one you pick is the one that you're discounting from it. So the boss is going to do the other two. So in this case, we gave it Healing Absorb and we gave it the Leap. All right, so you're going to see the Healing Absorbs go out. Only half the raid gets the Healing Absorb. Okay, here it is, Healing Absorbs. Okay, so if you have the Healing Absorb, you're on the way. Everyone who doesn't have the Healing Absorb, who's cleared, goes into melee. You're going to get hit by this, bonk. What's funny about this is you actually take like less damage in this circle usually than you do outside the circle, and just dodge this stuff. And now what you know is you're 100% getting the Healing Absorb next time. So right here we have the frontal. I'm positioning myself so I don't get hit. I have Dragon Rage coming up soon, so we're going to hold for that. My trinket is up right now, so I'm going to use that, and you're going to see Healing Absorbs going out. So use my trinket. I have a Healing Absorb like I predicted, and then right here we're going to Dragon Rage. And just, you know, if you don't have your Healing Absorb about to end and it's about to expire, like the debuff is closing on you, you should probably use like a Healthstone Health Pot just to finish it out. Verdant Embrace, Emerald Blossom, these are all good. Okay, so we have a Spear here. So I move into position and I'm holding this Fire Breath and boom, I hit it, right? So this is, Fire Breath would tip the scales during this part whenever you have to break the chains is actually like insanely good. Like look at this damage this Fire Breath did. 405k on this one, 388k on this one. By the way, this is without being augmented. And then you're gonna have a Living Flame that you can hit that's gonna cleave everything. So I press that, watch this. Boom! See how this hits everything? Like one Living Flame there was almost 700k. Kind of nuts. And that's without me even targeting them, right? Like it's just doing that damage. Okay, so same deal as before, right? People are getting spears, so they try and find their stacks. So we have 222. So I'm gonna hit it with a max rank Fire Breath right here. I'm trying to hit as many as I can. Boom! Look at this Fire Breath. Love to see it. Look at that damage, dude. That damage on that Fire Breath is insane. 1.48 million. But yeah, Living Flame with Leaping Flames is really good on this. And then now we have the intermission again. So the boss is gonna make us choose another Torment. As you can see, we can't choose the same one again. So the reason why we did the mill one first is because it's literally the hardest. Like having to do the tank soak with the Healing Absorb is like really annoying. I remember DCing like right here. Yep. Okay, so we DC'd, we get back in. I'm dead, of course, because that's how it goes. So yeah, this is why I was saying like, don't look at the mirror too much on this one because I was just like having such DC issues on this one. I think Devastation is actually really good on this fight. You're just like so good at blasting those things. Dude, oh, look at their health, man. This hurts so bad. There's only one over here too. That's the funny part. They stacked 3 for no reason and they could have stacked 2 over here. Someone asked a question, what is the power of Devastation after the buffs? It's a great question. So I think Devastation after the buffs is actually looking really strong. Really, really, really strong. I think guilds should consider bringing Devastation. Seriously, it's really good on its own, but it's actually so much better than you think it is because number one, there's a lot of AoE that happens in this raid where you need it to be killed instantly. Like it's not padding. You need to kill that AoE like as soon as possible. And Devastation basically gets AoE for free. And then obviously playing Volatility, you know, if you're using Pyre, that's going to lose you single target. But like you don't really give up much for the parts of the fight that are single target for the AoE parts. You're only giving up 1.6% of your damage. Most classes, if they're choosing to go into AoE, they like lose a lot of boss damage. It's also one of the best classes to pair with Augmentation. And we know we're going to run Augmentation in the raid. There's like there's no chance that you're not running Augmentation this raid if you're optimizing your raid. You will run Augmentation. 100%. Because you're running Augmentation, running Devastation is just slightly better because it means that you actually have a really good target to buff like all the time. Devastation is a fantastic target for Augmentation to buff. What I'm thinking is you're probably going to run 2 Augmentation Evokers as like a staple. Now you could go up to 4. You could go 4 Aug. And the reason why 4 Aug is kind of interesting is because you would take a lot less damage in your cooldowns. Like if you press defensive cooldowns, the entire raid is going to be blanketed with your Aspect's Favor. That's the 8% more health buff thing that you do. The entire raid gets blanketed as long as you're within 25 yards of an Augmentation Evokers. So that's kind of a case to make 4. Now here's the downside to using 4. If you use 4 Augmentation Evokers, what that means is that you're going to have subpar targets for 2 of them, okay? Because you can't stack your buffs on the same person anymore. So 2 of the Augs is getting like preferred targets. 2 of the Augs are getting like the scraps. Now that could be enough to make it so that you may not want to run it. So I think the decision depends on like, what is more important to you in the fight? Is it having the higher burst windows every 2 minutes and having the defensiveness? Or is it having Devastation? Because Devastation is just going to absolutely destroy the damage, especially if you have augmentations in the raid. I think having some of them swing Devastation for certain encounters is going to have a lot of value. T-Swift, right? This boss that turns into like all the different druid forms. Arcane is insane on this fight. Okay, so is Devastation. Let me just say that. Devastation is bad good on this one. I'll show you an example. That'll be for later, so you have to stick around for that. When you see how much damage Devastation does on this boss, you're going to think it needs to be nerfed. Okay, so here's the end of the fight. You just don't stand swirlies. That's all this one does. That's why we saved this one for last. It's just, you know, it does raid damage, but it's not too bad. What we did is, instead of splitting the raid half and half, which is what seems logical, we actually just put like really tanky people on one side, and then we put everyone else on the other side. All right, so let me explain this boss before we get into it. Let's just pause right here. Okay, so this is Volcoross. This is the giant magma snake looking thing. By the way, fun fact for you. If you're playing Frost Mage on this fight, you're gonna regret everything. If you run a sim for Frost Mage, 80-yard sim, you're gonna lose around 15% of your damage, just straight up, and there's nothing you can do about it. You are actually trolling if you play Frost Mage on this fight, unless they change it. Yeah, it's because the distance, your spells like don't shatter right. Yeah, anyways, so there's two components, right? And the idea for this fight is you want to break the raid into two groups. You're gonna have two groups going around the circle different ways. First mechanic that we need to be aware of just happened. This is these flame circles, okay? So how this works is the circles deal pulsing damage. You do not want to stand the circles, all right? They're going to get smaller over time. So they start big and then they get small. So you want to immediately move out. Okay, here we have the shadow. See the shadow coming out? So if you're in the shadow, you die. So you got to move, right? I move right there. It slams down, and then you have the lava coming out of both sides. Okay, now watch this. Very important. Watch these circles. So as the circles get smaller, they become more concentrated. They do more damage, okay? If you stand them, it's really bad. You do not want to stand these circles yet. You're going to notice, so at the very, very end, they're going to change. Okay, here's the mythic mechanic to the fight. So the circles, now that they've fully gone down, they're going to erupt. You see this like flame shooting out of it? You need to move into the circle right now. You need to soak for your buddies or else they're going to die. As soon as the damage goes out, the circles are going to jump to the nearest player. So you can actually use this to your advantage. If you have movement, you can actually stand directly on top of the person with the circle and then dash out and take your circle out like right away. You can also just like stand on the edge of the circle, but as soon as the buff goes out, you need to move immediately. If you're standing in two of these, you're probably going to die. It does a ton of damage. So yeah, same deal as before. The tail is coming down. Watch. The tail's going to slam, and then we're going to have to soak circles shortly after. These still aren't ready though, and the countdown is wrong, so don't look at that. It's not too bad if you soak with 3 people. And then I grab someone, I rescue them over to the left here. It was right as the circles went out though. That was unfortunate. I was trying to grab us and move us left because we're going to have to stack over here in just a moment. And right here, this is why I rescued us to the left, because these 2 circles are going to spawn right here. If you don't have 4 people soaking these circles, each one, you're going to have the lava come out of the middle of the room. It's just going to grow and grow, and it's a slow wipe. You don't want that to happen. So these circles are also going to knock you in a direction. So you actually want to stand like on the edge closest to where you want to be knocked. So I'm right side. So I'm going to move like kind of in this spot right here. So I get knocked towards where I want to go. And it goes out. See this? Boom. It hits me. And look, I get knocked, just like I said. So this lava is going to slowly grow. It's going to get probably out to like right here. So I do kind of try to space myself a little bit from it. Okay. So yeah, this damage happens. Serpent Fury. So this is a pretty important mechanic. It makes it so you kind of want to press like a defensive every like minute or so. So if you press your Renewing Blaze, it like counters this hard counter. I think on this poll, I had chosen to drop the 30-second cooldown reduction on Renewing Blaze. So it was like a 1.5 minute cooldown, which was really bad. You definitely want the 1 minute Renewing Blaze for this fight because you want a Renewing Blaze every Serpent Fury. Lava waves go out and then new sets of circles immediately, right? They jump. So watch this. As soon as this circle becomes soakable again, you're going to notice it jumping to the nearest person. I did a rescue shield on them so that this damage would do less to both of us. And then it's going to go on me here. See that? So I knew it was going to go on me since I rescued them. I was like directly on top of them. So I immediately hovered out with the circle. This was my plan all along, was to grab the circle and take it out. I'm just like removing the danger. Okay, so it's time for us to soak. So everyone comes in and we soak this. And notice how all the lava disappears. Whenever the boss does the circles that you actually have to soak, all the little circles disappear. So it actually doesn't matter where you bait, so long as you can get back to here in time. Half the raid is across the map. We're over on this side with like most of the raid. And then we have like a lot of people on the other side. So you just need 4 people soaking this, but you're going to go into the circle again, like we talked about. And technically we wouldn't need every person to soak in this. Same deal as before, Serpent's Fury. This is where you want a Renewing Blaze. I just pressed it. And then notice how we're coming together. Look, the other side of the raid is here. So we've actually done a full circle and the entire platform is lava except for like this last part. Okay, so this is the most critical part of the fight. You're going to have it. This person's dead. There's no reason to soak them. You're going to have it happen where you have 2 last soaks to do, okay? So the fight's going to be around 5 minutes long. I think it's like 4:45 or something. We're going to go right up until the wipe. So the tail comes out. So right here, you're going to notice the pools go away. See that? Look, and we have 2 circle soaks. This is the last one of the fight. After you soak these 2 circles, it's over. GG. And if you don't soak the circles, you're just going to get the fire that comes out. And the fire that comes out is going to just like take over anyways. That's the enrage, basically. Yeah, it's like 4:47. Council of Dreams. Ooh, do I even care about showing this fight? I guess I should talk about it. So how this boss works is there are 3 bosses. It's a council fight, as the name implies. You've got a bear, which is cooperative. You can take the bear wherever you want. You've got a Dryad who just jumps around. She cannot be controlled. She just goes wherever she pleases. And you've got a little Pip. That little guy also goes wherever he wants. And you have to kill all these at the same time or else you wipe. Because one of them is just going to heal the full if you don't kill it in time. So yeah, as you can see here, Bear has 593. Pip has 356. Same with the Dryad. So I think the best strat here is you probably keep the Bear on one of them. And then you move to the other one. And you just like alternate until like all the targets are kind of equal health. So you'll see in just a moment. These bosses, they just like do whatever they please. You cannot control them. So we have the fight start, and you'll notice here they're actually kind of stacked for like a moment, and then watch this. Leap. Haha, you thought we were stacked. Later. Oh, we actually got lucky though. Look, Pip, and then the bear's in the middle, and then she's out there on the side. So this is nice. Yeah, this is like prime for like Breath of Aeons right here. Boom. Of course, there's a frontal, but you know, just cut it short. So Pip is going to polymorph you into a duck sometimes. There's also this poison javelin. You just put them out, you dispel them. No big deal there. Okay, right here, we have javelins. I'm going to go out. I'm going to get dispelled. Dispel myself. Boom. It's fine. The fall damage isn't too bad, so you can just like dash out and do it. Okay, barreling charge. Very important. Half the raid needs to soak this. So right here, this is like half the raid. The charge goes off and boom. And the boss hits the wall and it hits the raid. Boom. You see that? We all get hit to half health. That's what half the raid soaking it. While you're a duck, you can clear up these little pools. The reason why you want to clear up the pools is because we have a stacking dot, and the amount of this, the stacks on this dot, it depends on how many of the circles are on the ground. Yeah, as you can see, the ducks are eating the grass, so we're having that go down. And then right here, we're getting all pushed back by Pip in the middle of the room. The Dryad's about to leap again. And as you can see, the bosses are thoroughly spread at this point, and it's just going to be this way for the rest of the fight. Okay. So yeah, we're getting more ducks. We're getting more spawns. These ducks need to make sure that they clear all this stuff. And then we have the most important mechanic, Blind Rage. You have to duck the bear right here. The bear is able to be ducked while it's in its rage. So you duck him. See how he's a big duck? Mission successful. Or I guess it's more like a goose. Okay, so I get polymorphed. I turn to a duck. I immediately go for those, but I see someone else beat me to it. I take one here and I'm thinking like, you know what? It's actually not worth it. I'm just going to let my duck expire. So I let it go down to 1 dot just so we have it for later. It's in the middle of the room. That's why I took that one. So yeah, we're going to take less damage now. Also, new circles are spawning. I'm just going to skip ahead. Okay, right here. So Pip goes to the middle of the room. And then Pip is going to do the Song of the Dragon. So how this works is you need to take avoidable damage in order to break yourself out of this. So you're going to want to go into a pool. You can get rid of it pretty quickly. But yeah, you have to have a pool ready. I recommend having the pool in the middle of the room for it every time. Okay, so now you've seen the whole fight. I mean, the whole fight is literally just this on repeat. Okay, so Larodar, this fight is really interesting. Notice how there's a seed of life in the middle of the room? It's very important. Make note of that. There's also like flame everywhere. You'll notice there's like fire on the floor already. It's kind of weird. It's like spots everywhere. The outside of the room is not, you're not able to go out there. So like you're only going to have this circle to deal with. And realistically, you're only going to really have the middle circle. This like flame on the ground is just going to get out of control. You'll see it very briefly here. So there's 2 main mechanics on this fight. They're going to wipe you. Number 1 is you run out of space with the flame. The flame's just everywhere. You haven't extinguished it well. Number 2 is the actual soft and rage root mechanic. There is a cast the boss does where it will just wipe the raid unless you have a root that you've killed and healed, and then it has a zone that's safe. If you don't have the safe zone that the root gives you, you're just dead. So this is another fight where I think Devastation is actually really good. Treants spawn at about 10 seconds into the fight. Perfect timing for you as Devastation to just immediately start ripping that AoE. Start AoEing those suckers down. You got to kill these as quickly as possible. So the reason why you want to kill these treants as quickly as you can is because they have a really nasty cast. The pools are going to like grow very slowly. So you'll notice that they're like slowly engulfing this whole area. And the boss does a charge. Obviously don't get hit by the charge. Okay, so this whole quadrant is burnt, right? The reason why we kill those treants is because they run to the middle of the room once they're healed up. So the healers heal the treants. The treants move to the middle. Now, think of this as like a fire hydrant. You are a firefighter. You need to put out the fires. The way that you and your firefighter buddies put out the fire is you need 3 people. 3 people click the middle thing. You create like sections of the fire hose, and then one person's on the end and they're extinguishing the flames. You need to make sure this thing has enough health in it so that you can spend it, because you will spend it faster than it fills. Also, more fire mechanics, right? Bunch of fire hits the ground, and then right here, very important, we have these orbs. As a DPS, you need to know how these orbs work. If I soak one of these, I'm going to take damage. I won't be able to soak another one for a really long time either. I think the whole fight. You do not want them hitting the boss. 20% crit chance. So here's the hose. This is the first person, second person, third person. It's kind of hard to see the third person, but like they are extinguishing the flames. So they're like kind of focusing on one side. I think you guys should actually like move around the room as quick as you can. If you move like too fast though, you're going to break the link. Each one of these people, you can't really see it, but each one of these people has a circle around them. And that's the range that the other person can stand in. We're gonna have these orbs coming out now. Really, really important. It gives you a permanent debuff. I did not realize this. And if you get hit by another orb, it just kills you pretty much. You can probably take 2 orbs in the fight, but there's no way in hell you're taking the 3rd. That's good. Also, I haven't mentioned this. There's a root. You see this little root? Now, I think we wipe on it on this pole to that root not being taken to the right spot. You need to take that root through where the people are extinguishing the flame. And what's gonna end up happening there is you actually like extinguish the root, and it makes it so that the root then becomes targetable. We wiped here because we didn't get the root done fast enough. So you heal up the charred brambles. Healers are healing this, right? They're healing this little frame. Here, okay, see how the brambles is healed? Now it creates a little shrubbery. So if you stand in the shrub, you're safe from the big damage the boss is about to do. Boss does a huge amount of damage. Now it's going to keep pulsing though. It's like, this is probably a good renewing blaze, obsidian scales angle. So yeah, the people with the fire extinguisher, they're able to like run around. You can see them over here, like just clearing the room as quickly as they can. And then it runs out of juice again. The fight just repeats. I mean, you've seen the whole thing. I mean, this is another one where I think Devastation actually has a lot of value. I don't even think the fight works this way, so I'm not even sure how much I want to talk about this fight. I think it's been reworked. Keep in mind, these lines that you see on the ground, they're like glowing. If you cross that line, you take a debuff that does damage to you, and it stacks. Also, the boss is going to do this thing where it puts like these daggers on you, and the daggers chase you. So you can cross the line as long as there's grass there. So this dagger is going to follow this line right here through, basically through my character. He's got like 3 right now. Yeah, so like at 130 or so, the boss takes less damage during continuum. Notice how the lines are changing. You can move through them right now. And then you have these trees that spawn. Now the trees need to be killed as quickly as possible. You can split the raid. So half the raid goes on one side, half the raid goes on the other side. You interrupt a tree, you kill it. There's really not that much to it. Like you would not want to Breath of Valence this tree. That would be a huge mistake. It dies way too fast. So just kill the tree as quickly as you can. We have another set of these green grass things coming out, so you can use those to get back home. You may take a little damage. That's fine, whatever. That's all I'm going to say about it for now. So this is the 3rd to last boss. And for those of you who are lore nerds, you'll immediately recognize that this is indeed the boss that you interact with in the Legion questline for Shaman. So yeah, this fight, once again, 2 phases. It goes really quick though. So the first phase is going to end in like 1:20 from where the pulse starts. You need to pre-position yourself out here because you have these little circles, these overheated. So this works very similar to Igira the Cruel, where half the raid gets a circle and half the raid doesn't. So if you're marked, you need to get out. So the boss is going to have these circles explode right here. And each one is going to have fire, like we talked about. It's like a pentagon, like a pentagram, whatever you want to call it. But basically, the fire tornadoes are going to go in every direction. And you want to dodge those tornadoes. It's going to load up. It's going to show you the directions they're going, like with these little lines. And then they all move at the same time. See that? So it's kind of a cluster, like trying not to get hit by these, but you can just dodge them as long as you're like spaced out well. Now, I'm skipping over the mythic mechanic for now. We'll talk about it in just a little bit. But this gives you a huge healing absorb. Boom, right there. See that? So it takes you down to like 20% health. And it gives you a healing absorb. You have to make sure that you heal this off yourself, or you get healed by healers, because there's a lot of damage happening here, as you can see. Like, I'm ticking down. I think if you have very coordinated healers who are good, they can probably like pop it instead. But anyways, once you heal off the healing absorb, you drop a circle on the ground. You need to move out of that. And obviously the tornadoes are growing out at the same time too. So the mythic mechanic on this encounter are these orbs, these little flame orbs. And you'll notice that they're tethered to a specific player. And then you have to soak the orbs sequentially. So you let the orb hit you. Once the orb hits you, it's going to blow up and it's going to deal damage to the raid. So right here, you got to be topped. You got to let the orb hit you. The orbs are coming out of these portals. They choose their people and now they're going out and boom. See that pop? The orb popped. We just got absolutely blasted. We still have 2 orbs up. If you let an orb go off and then you hit the other orb before the debuff falls off, it will wipe the raid. If you have an orb tethered to you, you're allowed to pop the orb, but everyone else is not allowed. So this prevents you from like having an orb duty person just like take care of the orbs, just solo. Right here, I have this circle on me. You notice how I go like as close to the edge as I can? This is because I want my 2 tornadoes in the back to be like completely wasted here. You can basically position these really well so that you don't really have to move and you're just like safe. But anyway, so the orbs are out again. Like we said, since I had the circle there, I'm going to be tank soaking on the second one. You need to hit these circles. So we just hit one. It says don't orb. We're waiting. And here we can pop the last one and pop the last one and pop the last one. Yes, pop it. There we go. Okay, so now we're soaking with the tank. Boom, that happens. Does a ton of damage to you. This is like so overtuned. The damage is crazy. And now I have a healing absorb that needs to be healed off of me. And I'm also like very liable to die. Absorbs are kind of doing work here. Okay, it gets healed off of me. But yeah, you really need your healers to be like carrying on this one. This is the intermission or phase 2. So the boss runs to the middle of the room. He hits the ground. Boom, a big explosion. Everyone gets knocked back. Okay, what's going to happen here is you drop these orbs. See this? Each person drops 5 orbs. These orbs all give you a damage increase. Now, the damage increase begins when you soak the first orb. The duration of the buff does not increase. So as soon as you start your first orb, you need to immediately grab all of them and just damage as much as you can. So like right now, if you look at the fight time, this is at 1 minute, 10 seconds into the fight. There's going to be a dance, okay? So you're going to do the dance. You can let those orbs slowly go in. You don't want them to reach the boss though. If the orbs reach the boss gets a damage increase. That's really bad. So first circle is right here. I don't know if that's random or if it's set this way, but it seems like it was kind of random. So here's the first ring that goes off. Here's the second ring. It's the boss and it's also this outer one and the safe spot's right here. And now the safe spot's in the close area and out here. And now the safe spot is out. And now the safe spot is basically the entire middle of the room. And now the safe spot is either in the middle or way out here out of range of the boss. So as Devastation, you obviously want to be in the middle. So I could see it being the case where you hold all cooldowns on the pull, unless you're like a 1 minute class or like 1 minute 30, something like that. Anyway, so on this one, I didn't have the first circle. So you notice I tank soak. That one's actually so much easier to deal with and you get healed up much faster. And then people who are being healed up, they're dropping these circles. And then you'll notice these guys are shoot up. So this is just random. It's wherever people are standing and this flame never goes away. So yeah, I would say divide the room up into fourths. And then just drop all of the circles over in one slice at the start. And then, you know, rotate around the room, do the different slices. Here, we're not doing it well because we have these circles like super spread out, right? Like you want them all in like one pizza slice. And we are dodging the tornadoes, bunch of tornadoes. It's kind of crazy how much clutter there's in this fight. Like look at all the shit on the screen. You got swirlies, you got these portals open, you got tornadoes flying, you're gonna have fire orbs, fire pools coming out. Red on red on red on red on red. Yep, that's the whole fight. It's just infinite red on red. Okay, yeah, so you can see my orb spawned, right? Orb spawned, here's World in Flames. So I'm gonna wait to pick up my orbs here until right now. I grabbed 2 of them. I wasn't able to get all of them because there's like fire in the way. There, I get my orbs. As you can see here, this buff is already going off of me pretty quickly here. You can see it, plus DPS and plus healing. This makes you God mode. So like, I think the healers probably want to pick it up right away, or at least one of the healers does. You can have the buff start later and then you can keep it later. So that was at like around 1 minute 40 into the fight. As you can see, this fight goes really fast. It's like a 30-second intermission. So you get 1 minute 10-second phase, 30-second intermission, 1 minute 10-second phase, 30-second intermission, and it just repeats like that. And you get 4 main phases and 4 intermissions, and then it's over. You're toast. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways they could have made this fight more clear visually. I mean, I think it looks cool. The room is awesome. The boss is awesome. The mechanics are cool. And there's so much coordination going into it and so much positional requirements on like where you stand. But overall, I'm like very positive about this raid. I think it looks really good. This boss, honestly, to me, like I think this can be a really cool boss. I'm just a little frustrated by it. Like, it felt like this was a fight where you just like wipe for hours and like just not really understand why or like what's going wrong. But once again, it could be the lack of coordination. It could be the healers not really healing well. It could be like a million different things. It just felt like really bad in the testing. That being said, though, I think they'll probably just nerf it down. And I think they may have actually already done that. So I think this fight has the potential to be either the worst fight in the raid or the most frustrating fight. I'm not sure which one. We'll have to wait and see. We're going to show my VOD first, but I'm going to show some footage from Instant Dollars who ran Devastation instead, just to give you an idea of like what they were doing towards the end of this testing and why Devastation is looking so insane for it. So Taylor Swift, this boss is awesome. This is looking to be like one of the coolest bosses, in my opinion. Very excited for it. I'll be honest, I was not expecting to like this boss going into it because it's the dragon riding boss. I thought it was going to be a meme, but it ended up being super sick. The first thing that's going to happen here is we have a bunch of swirlies you have to dodge. So don't get hit by the swirlies, obviously. And then we have the mushrooms. Okay, so you have 4 different mushrooms. As you can see here, 2 of them respawn, 2 of them are waiting. You have a red mushroom and a green mushroom. The tanks have to do this little mini game with the mushrooms, okay? But how it impacts you as a DPS is the boss is always going to be facing towards the green mushroom. Now, the reason why that's important is because the boss's back is where the feathers spawn. As soon as the feathers spawn, it's absolutely critical that you go as fast as possible here. You use the feather. The feather allows you to use dragon riding in the raid fight. So you're going to get on your dragon and there's going to be 4 orbs. You need to all go grab the orb and immediately fly back down. It has to be done as quickly as you can. So how it works is if you don't do the orbs explode. They fall and they hit the raid and it wipes everyone instantly. Now you want to do it quickly because the boss is going to have a different mechanic here, a root mechanic. So you're going to notice everyone has these little red circles on them right here, mass entanglement. These little roots are going to be spawning on everyone. See this? Okay, so you're immobilized, you can't move, you're rooted. I am assigned to go out and do the first debuff here. So I'm going to get freedomed right here. See, I get freedomed. And now I move out and I get dispelled. Just like with the orb on Smolderon, you have to do it like one by one because you get a really nasty debuff. Okay, and the roots can take damage from the dragon. Whenever you land, you do like a huge splash AoE. So once again, boss, behind the boss, you get the feathers. Everyone just grab their feather. I get rooted out here. I get freedom. I get dispelled. I move back in. And then as the boss is doing the fire beam attack right here, we need to move. The entire raid needs to move. So I'm going to press my time spiral here. And then, okay, so these circles, they're going to shoot tornadoes at you. Fire tornadoes on the ground. And I think the best strategy here is actually to put the boss like directly between them and just dodge them. And then the important thing is you're going to be mass rooted again while these fire things are out. So you need to make sure that you're nice and tight. You don't want to be like exactly pixel stacked, but you want to be nice and tight. Okay, right here. These roots, you don't have the dragon to break these roots, okay? You have to do this the old-fashioned way. You got to just do damage. Now, you can break yourself out with like Blink. You can break yourself out with Deep Breath. If you break yourself out that way, you're going to spawn a tree and the tree's kind of nasty. So you don't want too many people doing that. 1 or 2 people doing it's fine. Having everyone in the raid do that is a wipe. Why do I always have the Dispel? It only targets ranged if ranged are available. Now, it can't target people who are on their dragon. So if you have 4 ranged on the ground, whenever the people are doing their dragon, those 4 ranged will always get the debuff. It is deterministic. And whenever you get dispelled, you drop like a pool of fire. So you don't really want to be rooted in that. So either you can get dispelled after you break your root, or you can get like freedomed or something like that, which is what I do. If I was Devastation, I would use Deep Breaths because Deep Breath is going to allow me to break my own root. At 46 seconds in, you need something here. You need to break these. So we start AoEing them. And they die relatively quickly. As you can see there, Warlocks are like okay at doing it. And then the boss is going to do another set of wild mushrooms here. So once again, the tanks do a little mini game. And then another set of feathers. And right here, I marked mine. I pinged it. I'm like, this is my feather. So I go in, I take my feather. You'll see me here. I immediately get on my mount. I press spacebar twice. I immediately grab my orb. As soon as I grab my orb, I press my spiral move and I immediately hit the ground. Boom! See that? See how much damage I just did? The whole process took me like basically 3 seconds. And then these ones are like super easy to break, right? Because people with the mounts just break them pretty much automatically. All right, so yeah, we have our first big dot. So now you can dispel again, and we get through all those dispels. And now the boss is going to be leaving. So we're going to have another set where the boss is throwing out those like lines that you have to dodge, and then we're going to get knocked back. There's like winds that are pushing against us, and we need to make sure that we are grabbing those feathers. So you go in, you get your feather, and then it gives you a 30-second buff where you can get on your mount. You get on your mount and you fly over to the next platform. And then this is the dragon riding portion of the boss. There's 10 orbs total. Anyways, you want the DPS just to fly to the boss as quickly as possible. So I do gather some orbs as I go. They do give you a vigor whenever you go through them, which is nice. So if you fly through an orb, if it's like convenient for you, just grab that vigor and just fly through. It's not too bad though. Just make sure you don't take too much damage getting there. Okay, so the boss is damageable here. This is why you want the DPS to go right away. So the DPS as of right this second have 50% more damage. The boss is hittable. So if you can get the entire raid to hit this boss right now, that's going to actually give you a lot more damage over the course of the fight. So that's why I really think this is a healer mechanic. Like I think the healer should be doing the orbs with this 50% buff. And the boss is going to put up a shield. Okay, as you can see, the sky changes. It's really epic. Blazing sky, right? The sky changes, it gets all red. He's trying to burn the tree down. Wow. The only way to stop the boss from burning the tree down is to break this absorb shield. As soon as you break the absorb shield, it instantly cancels supernova. There's a ton of damage going out though. So you do need probably like one healer to like be just pumping right now, because the healer's doing like 50% more healing and the boss is like basically destroying the raid. So I think if you're like really coordinated and your DPS are hella boosted into the boss, you can probably break these like without too much trouble. But anyways, that's where we got in my VOD. I think augmentation's pretty good for breaking the shield. I think you probably want to run 2 of them. But let me show you what instant dollars did, because I think this is very interesting. So the stream we're watching right now is Hopeful. He's a fire mage, so we're not watching the Devastation Evoker, but I want you to pay attention to what the Devastation Evoker is doing in this fight. The Devastation's holding their cooldowns. So the first set of people go up, like so. Everyone gets their roots. Okay, you notice right here that Hopeful is setting up as Arcane. He's like out here. He's going to blink in. As soon as his root goes out, boom. See that? His root's gone now. And now he gets, he's in there and he's just blasting AoE. Oh, he shimmered in actually with this root. Okay. Yeah, so anyways, right here, the raid moves like we were talking about. We're still just vibing. And coming up here at 40 seconds. Okay, right here. This is where the Arcane Mage and Devastation like completely ascend. So watch the damage. Watch the damage here. He applies his Touch of the Magi, gets everything out, and he's just blasting AoE into that Touch of the Magi. But look at the Devastation. Look at them ascending. So as you can see here, this set of roots, you don't need AoE damage for. These ones are fine because the people and the dragons are going to kill these. People and the dragons are dive bombing right now. Boom, the roots are dead. Okay. No big deal. Whatever. It's basically like the second set is really, really tough. That's the one where you actually need your cooldowns on because you don't have the dragons to break them for you. So that's why you would pop your Dragon Rage at that point. Okay. So the boss moves. And you're going to be moving to the next platform. You do your dragon riding, whatever, you get there. Ideally, you get there like as the boss lands like this, right? So as you can see, he's revving up for his Arcane Surge. And then Arcane Mage is like really good for this because you can blast into the damage absorb with your 50% increase. So you'll watch Arcane just like blast up the meters right here. And this is with augmentation, so he's just absolutely pumping the shield. And I think Arcane's going to like kind of carry this shield a bit. So yeah, Arcane's just like really good for this. Now, Devastation is going to be pretty good because you can just use Unravel on the shield. So it's like, you don't really need to be in your cooldowns necessarily to like make it work. Just as long as you're like getting those Unravels out on cooldown, you're probably going to do like pretty decent damage to it. So in phase 2, the fight changes a little bit. I wouldn't say it necessarily like gets easier, but there's definitely like easier lineups. So we have the Mass Entangle with the feathers, right? So if you see the feathers with the Mass Entangle, what do you know? You immediately know that the damage on these roots does not matter, okay? It doesn't matter because the people with the feathers are going to break these, all right? We do not care to do damage on these. Literally irrelevant. And he goes out and he blinks in. That way he doesn't AoE people down with his root. So the dragons are landing, boom, 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 the roots are dead. So we have, once again, the mechanic where people are getting, they have to be dispelled. So you want these roots to be dead right here. This is where the dragons are landing, boom, they're all dead. And then this one coming up right here is going to be the hard set again. So it's Falling Star. And then right here we have a new mechanic. Never been seen before. This is the seed mechanic. You have to run around and collect, like run over these seeds to pop them. So you just like run around, you pop them. You get a stacking debuff though. It's kind of mean. So damage taken debuff. 3 minute, 13 seconds of the fight. Watch devastation here. Watch the devastation's damage. Watch them ascend. Look at this. He's just creeping up. So the thing about devastation in this fight is you don't really lose a lot of boss damage if you just like incidentally AoE down the roots. But if you go ham on the roots, you can actually do like insane damage on them. And you don't really lose any boss damage in terms of the talents that you're picking. So as long as you're able to meet the enrage, and as long as you're like not failing the shield, because you have unravel, right? I mean, just look at the damage meter right now. Warlocks can do like some pretty crazy shield damage, but like no other class can do this. But yeah, so they end up wiping here, but like as you can see, like at the end, look at the damage the Devastation's doing. Almost 100k above the next person. This is your niche. Like Devastation is insane for doing burst AoE. And this is the ultimate situation where you need burst AoE. And it's perfectly lined up for every Dragon Rage. So I think Devastation is like insane on this fight. But it's definitely a good Evoker tier, I'll tell you that. I mean, Augmentation's going to be insane. Devastation's going to be insane. This is going to be a goated Evoker tier. But you kind of get the gist of it, right? Like Devastation just does all the root damage. And if you're not doing the root damage, you're still pretty good because you can like use Deep Breath. You can still tip the scales on your Fire Breath during your Dragon Rage. Like you can do a lot of damage to those roots without even focusing them. Just like doing your single target rotation. Obviously in this case, he's going full AoE, but I think that there's a meter there. There's like a whole range to it. And you can still do like absolutely phenomenal damage as Devastation on this fight. Even without going like full volatility, full pyre spam. You're still going to just like Shrek the meters. Anyways, I just want to show you their testing because I felt like it was a really good example of like just what Devastation is good at and why I think it's going to be so insane on this boss. So in closing, just want to give my like final thoughts on this raid. So far, I think the raid has been really, really good. I've enjoyed every boss in the testing for the most part. The only exceptions are obviously the two that it's like the council boss and the Nymue boss. They're both like ad fights or like council fights. I'm not really a huge fan of those two. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Like I think it's going to be a fun tier. And also I think Evoker is going to be like insane this whole tier. Like Devastation and Augmentation. I think so. Some guilds are probably going to opt to just like run only Augmentation. I think that's probably a mistake. I think Devastation's really, really strong. Especially after these buffs, you probably want one in your raid. Most guilds are probably going to want you to play Aug, at least up front. They're going to want at least 2 Augs, I think, because that's going to just be like the staple. But I don't know. I think there's a really good case to argue that maybe bringing 3 DPS, maybe even 4 DPS Evokers is the way. I mean, just imagine having 2 Devastation Evokers in your raid when they're doing so much single target and they've got so much burst AoE and they've got Unravel, which does really good damage. You can also just swing Augmentation on one if you need to. I don't know. It's got like a lot of flexibility. But yeah, as always, thank you all for watching. I appreciate you, and hopefully you enjoy this video. That's it for today. Bye, everyone.